AM 1220 KDOW and Money 2.0 present The Real Estate Report with Tony Mendez and Gordon Hines. Bay Area real estate and mortgage experts with over 25 years in the business. Now, with an in-depth look at this week's local and national real estate news and what it means for you. Your hosts, Tony Mendez and Gordon Hines.
Welcome into the Real Estate Report. I'm Tony Mendez.
And I'm Gordon Hines.
The maestro.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us today during this holiday season and your drive home. This is the Drive Time Special, Real Estate Report. You're welcome to call the show, 800-516-1220, 800-516-1220, or you can email the show. We have plenty of emails to get to. We get a lot of emails. Tony or Gordon at BayAreaLoanSource.com. That's our website and our email. A lot of people asking about refinancing. Are rates going to go up through 2022 from this point on? You know, with all the talk about inflation, the Fed's come out and say they're going to raise interest rates 3 times on the average, up to 1.5 or 15 basis points,
15 basis points.
Up to after the 3 somewhere at the end of 2022. How's that going to affect? Now it's 1.5. No, it's 1.5.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, it's 0.09 now. So they're looking at 3 increases, and this is affecting a lot of people. Is it going to fuel their inflation? The borrowing costs are going to not only on interest rates on mortgages, but on credit cards, car loans. Anything else that you get money is going to cost you a little bit more to get. So I'm not sure how soon we're going to see this kind of slow down or at least fight inflation, but it's certainly going to hurt a lot of people who are looking to get low interest rates and possibly refinance before they go up. So that's probably the majority of the questions that we're getting right now is it time to refinance before interest rates go up? I know a lot of buyers are looking to buy before interest rates go up and home prices continue to go up. Redfin's chief economist, he said that people who set out to buy a home but in 2020 delayed their plans or lost out in bidding wars, they find themselves priced out of homeownership. Right now, the only thing to slow down the rate of home price growth is a mortgage rate hike. And it might be a victory for homeowners. So you have a rate hike to slow down price growth, and then you're going to have price growth anyway. So there's still an urgency. I feel more of an urgency going into 2022 than we did in 2021 to get into a house, lock in the price, lock in the interest rate, because we're still going to see growth. It's just not going to be as much.
Well, if you've been listening to any financial talk, radio, television, that's been the talk of the town is Fed's raising rates in 2022. It's been like the headline banner leading into year end. Today being December 16th, we got actually 8 shopping days left before Christmas or 15 days left before year end. But that's been the talk of the town. All the news has been actually talking about it. So at the end of the day, people start to get nervous. People start to panic. We get a lot of calls now recently because of that announcement. Even the announcement hasn't been made yet, but the planting the seed's been out there, and people now are rushed to try to get refinances in before year end. At this point in time, we can't do anything to close by year end because time constraints, holiday period. A lot of people take time off. Title companies close early. A lot of people take vacation around this time of year. So it's kind of really hard now to crunch in a close time if your application is not in process at the end of 2021. But we sure can get it done first part of 2022.
Yeah, so the Fed has to stop their asset purchase program before they raise interest rates. And they said that we're going to aggressively unwind last year's bond buying sooner than originally planned after the recent reports on inflation continue to show a sharp rise in prices. For consumers, according to an analyst at Bankrate.com, he said that the writing is on the wall that interest rates are likely going to start climbing in 2022. Gas, used vehicles, hotel, meat, fish, poultry, food, furniture, new vehicles, domestic services, jewelry, electricity, food, apparel, milk, all of these things we've seen inflation on. Gas and used vehicles and hotels we've seen the most on, according to this recent survey. And those are the things that a lot of people are spending money on, and they're big priced items. Doesn't get much more price than a house. So that's why right now we are on the cusp, I believe, of some big changes in what I believe the mentality of people going into real estate. Should they go in? We're going to have more people asking that. Should we get into real estate? Are we just getting the rate or should we get the price? I think you get both as soon as you can. Is it too late to be, we've been sitting on the fence for a while. Is it too late to get in? maybe you can answer that, Gordon. You've been bullish on real estate for a long time because it's a long-term game. I just don't see I don't think that it's worth going out and buying a house just to get 5% and then sell it in a year. I don't think that's the kind of speculation that we're looking for. That kind of speculation, that's back 10, 15 years ago. Now it's a little bit different. People are buying houses to live in.
It's always hard to speculate, like everything else in life. I think home ownership is one of the most important features of being an American citizen to control. To own a piece of the rock, as we say, everybody, I believe, should own one house and everybody should own one piece of rental property. That's my theory, but it's not all financially feasible, especially now as the market prices have gone up tremendously, outpacing inflation. All the consumer price indexes, home prices have gone up across the board, double, triple digits in the last three to 4 years. So it's kind of really hard now. We're looking at pressing on the millennials, young people maybe to buy homes because of the cost of real estate. But when you look around, you hear that all the time. You're still seeing houses with 2, 3, 4, 5 offers on properties, and houses being purchased within first 10, 15, 20 days on the marketplace. So it's kind of a tantalizing topic to kind of realize what position am I in if I'm looking to become a homeowner when I'm still getting outbidded on houses that I think I can afford. That's always the balancing that we got to kind of figure that out for young people. That's why it's very important for government to get a piece of the rock as far as affordable housing is concerned, because the masses of people get left back because a lot of people are buying houses that have a lot of money, and the first-time buyers are being left out because they can't afford it.
And it all comes down to inventory. When there's not a lot of inventory, it's going to drive prices up no matter what. That's supply and demand. And also, when there's not a lot of inventory and there's plenty of buyers, you have the stronger buyer. It's not a lottery system. It's not like first come, first serve. It's you get an offer on a house. It sits there for 2-3 days while the sellers look at it and they pick the best offer. And usually that's the stronger buyer.
Or the highest offer in most cases.
Yeah, the strongest,
the highest price.
Did I say it? I thought I said it the right way. The strongest buyer.
Well, the strongest buyer might necessarily.
Well, okay. I stand corrected because the strongest buyer doesn't always mean the highest price and vice versa. So the and the seller gets to pick and choose, and it's not like a lottery system. I mean, they're not going to force that type of purchase on clients. The National Association of Realtors, they would never buy into something like that, but. We just need more inventory. So we are going to be left with that one factor. People who are in houses have low interest rates. And if they don't, they're going to, because they're going to refinance, hopefully. And if they didn't buy with a low interest rate, they're going to try to get one. And they're not going to want to move. They're not going to want to give it up. We look at the architectural index of that group of the industry. That sector is booming right now. People are just reinvesting into their houses. That's a sign that people just aren't going to move. If they are, they're going to try to get top dollar for their house to buy something that's top dollar somewhere else. They're going to have a lot of money and move it somewhere else. So those are the strong buyers and the strong owners, right? So so that's going to keep inventory low, I believe. And the builders, yes, they're optimistic, but they're not that optimistic. They're not building. And they're not being forced to build the affordable housing, like you said. We need those type of initiatives. I mean, so the inventory is going to rule this kind of mentality and this kind of buying process for years to come, I believe.
Well, decision making is tough, especially right now. It's kind of really hard. Do I hold or do I sell? Got a client of mine from L.A. Been in his house about 25 years. He's about 62 years old. He says he's fixing his house up right now to put on the market. He's investing money, $100,000, because he wants top dollar. And so I asked him, where's he going to move to? He said, well, I haven't decided where I'm going to move to, but what I am going to do is hoard this huge sum of cash. He has about $200,000 in the house. He's looking to get 1.8 million out of the property. It's probably give him something close to $1.5 million clear of cash, and he's going to just sit on it and then kind of figure out, let the market dictate where he's actually going to put that money, where he's going to invest. He said, I'm not going to buy something off the top because I'm not doing a 1031 exchange. I'm not looking to do a time purchase. I'm just going to sit on the money and let the opportunity decide where I'm going to put my money. That's what he said. The kids are all grown, just him and his wife. He said, push come to shove, I can go live with a relative, but we really want to get that money in hand because it's a golden opportunity that he's never had in his lifetime.
And I imagine he's not alone. There's a lot of people that are thinking the same way. A lot of people are thinking about selling and then going and moving somewhere and renting. That's household formation and the ability for millennials to move around more often is driving rents up in many places. They're looking at another 7-8% increase in rents for 2022. That's the projections right now. After a double-digit year of increase, I think it was 13% for 2021 of national average increase in rents. So we're looking at a little, price growth slowing down a little bit, rent increases slowing down a little bit, but still going up. And that's putting a lot of pressure on people who are looking to buy houses. Believe it or not, the largest, the millennials actually took a huge chunk out of the first-time homebuyer category, out of the Generation X and the baby boomers. They got up to 67%. The last time they were measured was at 51%. So the millennials are really stepping up. A lot of people forgot that they do get older. They do save money. Even in the environment where they had higher rents, that was still their goal, was to buy a house. So there's as the millennials grow older and they amass more wealth, they are looking to buy houses, and a lot of them are tech central or
tech savvy, maybe
tech savvy, and they're following the jobs, which now the companies are figuring out. We can move to different locations, places where it's affordable. There's affordable housing and maybe even affordable rents, and attract young and talented employees.
And I think one of the things that we talk on the show, work from home is a big factor. I think that's helping the market become more stable. People don't absolutely need to follow their jobs, follow my nose. I think a lot of times now for a lot of employers, remote working environment. As a matter of fact, there are a lot of different rules. I just got the labor laws coming out for 2022. A lot of different rules and labor laws regarding working from home. What are the rights of the employer? What are the rights of the employee? So it's interesting to see. It's something that we never planned for, but once again, we're adjusting out of necessity. And I think it's interesting to see how the labor laws are going to actually be affected as far as work from home, dress code, timing, clock in, clock out, hours of productivity, all those kind of things. Overtime, a person deciding to work late in the evening versus early morning. All those things are being affected in the new labor laws coming up in 2022.
David Russell, he's the Vice President of Market Intelligence at TradeStation Group. He says about millennials, the shift towards renting wasn't a trend. It was just a delay of the inevitable. It is the inevitable. There are still plenty of buyers out there, not enough inventory. And the question still remains, is it still the right time to get into real estate? A lot of people believe it is, as rates go up, before rates go up, before home prices top out again. We'll come back and talk a little bit more about how home prices are approaching all-time highs again. I'm Tony Mendez. That's Gordon Hines. This is the Real Estate Report on AM 1220 KDOW. You can always email us, Tony or Gordon at BayAreaLoanSource.com, or call the show, 800-516-1220. We'll be right back.
Questions about real estate? Call the program, 800-516-1220. Now, back to the Real Estate Report on AM 1220 KDOW.
Welcome back into the Real Estate Report. I'm Tony Mendez.
And I'm the maestro, Gordon Hines.
Mortgage rates inched up. In the latest survey from Freddie Mac, according to Freddie Mac, the 30-year fixed is at 3.12% average, and the 15-year at 2.34%. Still great rates. I mean, you don't have to go back that many years, that many months to say, oh, that's a pretty decent rate. Yeah, they got down a little bit lower, but these are inching up, and there's a reason that they're inching up, and a lot of people are interested in refinancing and grabbing those rates. A lot of people interested in buying and grabbing those rates and fixing in for a long period of time. We have an email from someone. I like this email a lot. This is from Timothy in San Ramon. He goes, I have a great rate on a 7-year ARM. I have almost $1 million loan. The loan comes due in 20 months, which is on a 7-year ARM. What he means is that it starts to reset, and he'll go to a full the ARM starts kicking in where it's an adjustable part. And he says he's afraid that the rate will rise a lot when it resets. Should I refinance today to get a fixed rate and lose those 20 months? These are the kind of emails we're going to start getting as we see interest rates come up. A lot of people are fearful that, especially when you see the Fed start rising, we see inflation, and that's going to cause your underlying indexes to increase, which means that on an ARM, the way an ARM works, in this case, 7 years it's fixed. It's amortized for 30 years. So after the 84th payment, it now becomes adjustable to whatever balance that is over the remaining of the term. So we used to have the interest-only options. Some people would get really stung because their rate would go up and they were only being amortized for 23 years in this case. So their payment would go up a lot. Let's say he's principal and interest. So what happens is when it resets, your new rate is what they call the index plus the margin. That margin could be anywhere from 2 to 3% plus the index. Now, as we see these indexes rise, they just got rid of LIBOR, so he should probably check and see what his new index is. It could be Cozy, it could be Coffee, it could be, there's a whole bunch of them, and see what that is and what the history is during inflationary times and see what to expect. And if indeed he gets a higher rate by going into 30-year fixed, but he hedges against higher rates down the road once it starts to adjust, that might make sense. And I think it might make sense for a lot of people.
I don't think he gave enough information for me to give him a consensus answer, because he had to give me the rate he has now, and I can figure out how much principal reduction he's going to pay down on that rate he has now for the next 20 months versus we know what the rates are.
Right, that's
today.
a really good point.
If he refinanced today, what would it cost him to refinance, and then what would he lose
increase in payment
as far as principal reduction?
Yep.
So,
and then how long would he have to keep the new loan before it actually made sense? So you have to run those kind of numbers.
So he would have to actually, in essence, he probably would have to wait. Maybe when it comes time to refinance it, when his loan matures, maybe look at a shorter term, a 5-year fixed, depending on where rates are, would tell him what the best option is. But if he's got a super low rate now, he might be giving away $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 in principal reduction in that 20-month period.
Do you feel a lot of people who get into ARMs end up in that cycle where they go, I'm in an ARM and I don't want the 30 because it's higher. I might as well just get another ARM and then get another ARM. And
we had a client that used to do that. Remember, every 3 years he would refinance into another ARM.
Yeah, and theoretically you don't owe more, right? You're recasting, you're re-amortizing for 30 years, yeah, and it fixes again. It's just like a normal refinance, except after 5 years it becomes adjustable. In this case, 7 years, but you can keep doing that to keep having the low rate each time. Maybe that's what he does.
Yeah, it needs some financial literacy, I think, to do that. It needs a lot of planning. But there are people out there, as we talk right now, there's so many tools on the market which you can easily do that right at your fingertips, right on your own laptop, because there's a lot of different programs out there that offer those type of amortization schedules and all those kinds of features and benefits of what you can and can't do. Projections, if you have a loan, you can kind of play around with the loan. That's why technology is a good thing as far as mortgages are concerned.
The one thing I would consider is if he could get an ARM rate, let's say he gets another 7-year ARM. Yeah, he loses 20 months of what he is, but he can get a rate that's pretty close. I'd feel a lot more comfortable doing that instead of the 30-year fix, because the ARMs have been coming back, and they have been, in some cases, considerably lower than the 30-year fix, reasonably, of course, respectively, or relatively, that is, and that could make sense. But we're going to run across a lot of people who are looking at a new higher interest rate. It changes the mentality of what people are doing. A lot of people sit back and go, oh, I'm really happy with that, and then all of a sudden they need cash out. So now we're seeing a lot more articles and a lot more news about what are people going to do in a higher interest rate when they have they have a low interest rate now, but they need money out of their house. We're going to see that. Inflation means you're going to spend more money. You might need more money. Your wages might not go up enough to pay for the things you need to do. And I went through the list of all of the things that are going up. Gas is the number one, especially here in California. We're going to continue seeing that eat away at your disposable income. And a lot of people want to move, but they're not. They're going to do what your friend did, and that is they're going to build on their house. Where are they going to get that money? Are they going to get a HELOC or an equity line, or are they going to do a cash out refinance and take a higher rate than they have now? So these are the things that I think it changes the mentality. Really, you go, what am I going to do? This is not normal for me. The last 10 years, rates have been going down. Home prices have been going up. What do I do now? Is this the time to do it? In my opinion, I really think people are overestimating how high interest rates are going to go. I think that the Fed, just like you talked about, needs to build a little bit higher interest rates on their Fed funds rate so that they can fall back a little bit. They don't want to go below zero, so they got to build some in. Inflation came up at the perfect time. They're going to do it. We all know it's going to do it. It's broadcast. It's not a surprise. The Fed's doing a really good job at that. The markets are handling it well. I think this will be a better transition into higher interest rates than it has been in the past. But it still puts a little bit of fear in people. And like, what do we do down the road? We wanted to buy more real estate. We wanted to move. Are we going to give up our higher interest rate or low interest rate to get a higher interest rate, and then also spend money on a house that's at an all-time high. This is scary times for some people, and it might be really intimidating. They just shut down. They go catatonic.
Well, we're getting a lot of last week. I got 3 applications on actually people are actually going back into the workforce, have retired. Now they're saying their demand for their services. A lot of companies that they were working with have called them back, or they went to new companies, and they're going back into the workforce right now. Still receiving pensions or Social Security. The only thing we actually need to requalify that person is, especially if they have a salary letter and a 1 month worth of pay stubs, we can qualify them on that income. So it's easier to get a loan more than you think. The lady refinanced her house. She had a fire, and now she's looking to, she just went back in the workforce. Actually, her job letter starts this month, so she wanted to hedge herself against the marketplace. So we ended up doing a 60-day lock because she wanted to take advantage of the rates now. She's not sure where the market's going to be in 60 days. She's another person that's nervous about rates going up. So we did a 60-day lock, and come into January, we would be able to refinance our house back, welcome back in the workforce. Another opportunity. When opportunity speaks, you have to take it. A lot of jobs out in the marketplace. A lot of people don't want jobs, it looks like. And here's a woman going back to work and bringing in more income for the future.
I think there will be some opportunities like that. I think also what you were saying is that lenders, and we're going to continue seeing this trend, are looking to get your loans done. They're looking for more ways to get your loan done as opposed to what it was like in the previous, coming out of the Great Recession. They didn't want to. They were looking for reasons not to fund your loan. So other incomes are a little bit more acceptable. We're going to come back and we're going to talk a little bit more about tax seasons coming up. Your year end is coming up, 16 days. What do you do with your taxes? How is that going to affect your ability to qualify? We'll come back and talk about that. I'm Tony Mendez. That's Gordon Hines. This is the Real Estate Report on AM 1220 KDOW. You can always call the show, 800-516-1220, 800-516-1220. We'll be right back.
Phone lines are open on the Real Estate Report. 800-516-1220. That's 800-516-1220.
Welcome back into the Real Estate Report. I'm Tony Mendez.
And I'm Gordon Hines.
You can always email the show, Tony or Gordon at BayAreaLoanSource.com. That's Tony or Gordon at BayAreaLoanSource.com. Hottest housing market for 2021, according to Yahoo Finance, that is, was Austin, Texas. That city has been on so many lists for so long. I want to say when I first started doing this in 2005 or 6, we were talking about Austin and Boise and a lot of other smaller, even Phoenix, but that kind of fell around. But Raleigh, Denver. All of these places are still on the map. They're affordable cities, is what it is. And then you have companies that are pushing their offices and their headquarters into these places and manufacturing centers. And it's doing a great job. Austin's a great city. That's done very well.
Well, hottest can be deceiving. I'd like to figure out and read the article more and see what they mean by hottest. Does hottest mean the highest appreciation, the most amount of sales, the most affordable properties? What does hottest mean, actually, when you say the hottest market in the United States in 2021? Did they say?
Median sales price of single-family homes in Austin rose 33.5% in the third quarter of 2021 from the same in 1 year period. Far outpacing the national median home price increase of 16%. Among the 50 cities that Realtor.com tracks, Austin led the pack in the terms of annual median list price growth by 15.9%. And NerdWallet found that also among the nation's largest metro areas, Austin also saw the highest increase in list price at 29% rise in the third quarter from the same period. So there's plenty of and then you have the job growth there as well. So I like it. I like that trend that we're seeing with the spreading out of
one of the things
housing.
about Texas housing is one of the downfall of Texas is property taxes. Texas is one of the highest property tax states in the country. Most people think California is. California is not even, I don't think it's in the top 10, but Texas has very high property taxes, and sometimes I wonder where that factored in.
I'm sure it is.
Okay.
It's all built into cost of living, right? Cost of buying and selling a house. Same thing as like a realtor fee. When you buy a house, you're paying a realtor fee, and because when you sell it, you're paying a realtor fee. Taxes are coming up. The end of the year, you're going to start looking at all your accounting, your Schedule E. You're going to start getting these documents in your mail, and you're going to start thinking about preparing your taxes. What do you do and what do you not do? When you do when you have rental income or self-employed income of any type, use a 2-year average. In many cases, a lot of times Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, now they're taking a 1-year average. But when it comes to income, especially self-employed, it's a 2-year average. So what you do coming up for 2021 taxes will affect you for 2022 and 2023, as well as 2020 affecting you in 2021. What are some of the things you can do? It appears that we're going to run out of time to talk about it, but we will come back and we're going to talk about what you can do on your Schedule E and what not to do, especially if you own a property with someone else. That's something that to pay attention to. And then also about write-offs and what is usable and what is not usable income. This is something we talk about every year at this time because it does play a large factor. We have a client right now who has 3 self-employed incomes, but they're averaging lower year over year, and they may have to file their 2021s just to qualify. That's stuff we need to talk about. We'll come back after this break. I'm Tony Mendez. This is the Real Estate Report on AM 1220 KDOW.
Got a question? Run it past these guys. 800-516-1220. It's the Real Estate Report with Tony Mendez and Gordon Hines on AM 1220 KDOW.
Welcome back into the Real Estate Report. I'm Tony Mendez.
And I'm Gordon Hines.
So I've been teasing this for a couple segments about what to do and what not to do when it comes to real estate. And when you do your taxes, especially if you own property on your Schedule E, rental property that is, as well as self-employed income. This is a big issue. I mean, you're running into a client right now who probably wish they went back in when they filed their 2020s and maybe even amended it just so that they didn't have so many write-offs because it's affecting their income. And then, you know, obviously we have the Schedule E, which is where your rental property is reported, and there's many issues that you can go along there. But let's talk about this self-employed and how that's calculated.
Well, I think the goal on when it comes time to sit down with your tax preparer is to not pay any taxes or to pay as little taxes as possible. Of course, if you have income that you cannot disguise, you can't hide, you have to claim it. The way to offset that income is by adding expenses to balance out the balance sheet. So a lot of times it's people, good or bad, create some expenses, show some losses that they probably didn't need to show. And bottom line, it does save them on taxes, but when it comes time to loan qualification, it's actually a thorn in their side as far as loan qualification.
Yeah, because they use the net, not the gross.
Yeah, we're using that, not the gross. So a lot of times is what can we add back into that income? The only thing we can actually add back in is, let's say, a one-time expense if it's a rental property or depreciation. But that's about it. But when it comes time to Schedule C, which is a self-employed borrower, sole proprietor, the same thing. We can add back depreciation, and that's about it. So client that we have today looking to buy a house that she lives in, price, of course, she's been talking to the old owner since February of this year. She said the price has gone up now 3 times, and now she's at the end where she has to pull the trigger because she's living with her elderly mom and don't want to move, and her mom's going to help her qualify. Of course, she's self-employed. She has 3 different companies she does business with, all file Schedule C's. And last year's tax return looks pretty good, 2020. But 2019 don't look as good, and we have to average the 2 in order to qualify, especially the type of loan she's looking to get. The problem is, of course, no matter which way I shake the numbers, I can't seem to get her to qualify. So it looks like she's going to have to file as early as possible for her 2021s, and that way we can use the average of 2021s and 2020 in order to help her qualify. So that's the consensus that we're going as far as this particular client is concerned, and that's what the market has to do in order for her to qualify using the conventional standards of the average between 2 incomes of salaries.
So a lot of people are wondering how self-employed people used to buy houses. They used to have something called a stated income loan. You would simply state your income based on what you do in that type of industry, and they would have an average based on your zip code, and they would go, okay, that works. And they would state your income, and that would be your income. Now you have to use your tax returns. Here's the rule. If it's increasing, they use the average from year to year. So 19 to 20, they use the average. If it's decreasing, they use the lower of the 2. So if it's decreasing in 2020, they use the 2020, even though you could have made triple the year before. It doesn't matter. And through your year to date, 2021, they don't use that at all. Even for corporate or LLC or anything like that, you can't use it, even though they ask to prove that you're still in business and you're still bringing in money. So I still can't figure out why that's such a roadblock for the industry, because it seems like it's the last piece that's missing is the self-employed employed bars. I mean, even if you get Social Security, any income that's not taxable, you gross it up. They're using gross for everything except for self-employed.
Well, the reason why the roadblock is when we're looking at year-to-date income is a piece that you're looking at. That can be an opportunity for you to boost that income because you have no real way that they can't hold you accountable for it because it's an estimate. So a lot of times, let's say if we go back to an average, let's say she's averaging $2,000 a month through 2019 and 2020. And once again, we use a year-to-date average. We can boost that income up to $3,000 a month and bring it down to about the $2,500 a month average. But there's no repercussions for that money because it's not been verified. That's
not
the reason
audited,
why we can't use it.
So, it just means that at some point, I think that the moral of the story here is at some point, and you're looking at a transaction even a year or 2 years from now, and you're doing your taxes for 2021, and that's going to trail with you for 2 years, self-employed. Yes, we can get away with if you're W-2'd but you have rental properties. A lot of Fannie Mae products now, you're going to get a decision, what they call a decision with a good credit score, a good scenario. They only need 1 year's tax returns on for the Schedule E, which is your investment property. But still, people make mistakes on that. A lot of people claim the full income of the property, but they only claim half of the expenses, and the bottom line might look really good. Or I'm sorry, half the income, half the expenses. But what happens is you're claiming half of the income, but you're liable for all because you're part owner of that. You could be on the loan too. Even if you're not, you're still liable for all of the debt on that property, but you're only claiming half the income. A lot of lenders will not let you use half the liabilities. They won't even let you. So what a lot of people are doing is they're claiming all of the income, all of the expenses, and at the bottom line, they're saying, okay, I'm 50% owner times 50%. Now we're not an accountant. We highly recommend that you go to a CPA when you do this, but you can always consult us. Will this number work for us for a transaction down the road? How does this add to my 2020 if I'm doing my 2021s to help me buy or refinance? That is something that we love doing. In fact, we highly encourage people to do that because you might want to save some money now, but you may have also wanted to get some money out of your house, or you wanted to buy a new investment property, or move to Austin, for example. There's a reason why people at this time of the year start talking to loan officers, and why it gets busy again somewhere in March and April. And that's why that season happens, because people are now figuring out how much money they made and whether or not they can move forward. This is part of that equation.
Well, that's why it's very important to do tax planning, strategy as far as how to lower your taxes. A lot of different ways out there. As far as tax returns, I don't think there's a tax return out there outside of the president that I haven't seen when it comes to creative tax planning, creative accounting. Some of it, I said, wow, it was a good thing this didn't get checked. 'Cause a lot of times people think because they file a return and they didn't get caught on it, it was right. You just didn't get caught on it. It's like speeding. At some point in time, it could catch up to you. But at the end of the day, pretty much most people pay their taxes and pay their fair share as when it comes to taxable income and taxable liability, and being able to maneuver through the whole financial hardships, especially when you're on the lower end of the scale, don't have enough money, you're trying to pay from Peter paper or stretch those dollars as far as possible to help you qualify. It's a balancing act. You just have to sit down with a very competent tax professional to get proper tax advice and tax planning to be successful.
Totally agree with that. Surround yourself with good professionals. I'm going to correct myself. There are products out there that are like the stated income loan. Stated income went away. That name did. But they have the bank statement loan now. So if you are self-employed and you do claim a lot of expenses, and that's why you're self-employed. It's probably why you continue maybe owning or able to buy and save money, because you've had a lot of expenses and you can't break that habit. You don't have the money to pay the taxes, or you don't want to do it. So you write off a lot. So they have the bank statement program where you're simply just showing deposits into your account. The mistake people make there is they commingle deposits. Put it into a business account. Do it for at least 12 months. Make it easy for the lender so they don't have to go through each line item on your bank statements to figure out which is business and not. But the rate's a little bit higher for these programs, but you can still do that. That might be something that your client could look at.
Well, the problem is those programs require at least 20% down, 25% down. In this particular circumstance, this client is looking at 10, 15% down, so she won't be able to qualify for that bank statement program.
But they're there.
But they are there for people that have the excess money to put down.
So again, we talk about this every year, how taxes and filing your taxes, especially Schedule C, other self-employed income, as well as your rental income on the Schedule E. Talk to your CPA, and if you have a question about mortgages, you can always reach out to us as far as qualifying. That's what you do. That's the process. You can always reach out to us, Tony or Gordon at BayAreaLoanSource.com. That's Tony or Gordon at BayAreaLoanSource.com. We'll come back after this break. I'm Tony Mendes. It's Gordon Hines. It's the Real Estate Report on AM 1220 KDOW. Be right back.
Tony and Gordon are taking your calls at 800-516-1220. It's the Real Estate Report on AM 1220 KDOW.
Thanks for joining us. I'm Tony Mendes.
And I'm Gordon Hines.
And this is the Real Estate Report.
Every Thursday, 6 to 7, the drive time special.
One of the last few shows we're going to have of the year.
Yes, time is clocking.
Time is. It's a fast year. Yeah. I think people just want to get COVID over. Let's forget about the last couple of years. Can you believe it's going to be 2 years that COVID's really been messed? I was on a cruise when this all started. We had to hightail it back from Cuba back to Miami at full speed because somebody was sick on board, and we were afraid that, I guess the captain was, afraid that we were going to get quarantined off shore. And I'm glad he did. And then we got back here to the Bay Area, and it was low. Rates just dropped almost instantly right at the beginning of March 2020, and it's just been on fire since then. Rates are inching up finally, as we've seen a lot of that. The Fed has kept their interest rates low, the bond purchasing programs, and they're going to start raising interest rates. We see inflation, and we have the mortgage rates are inching up 3.12% according to Freddie Mac weekly survey on the 30-year fixed, and the 15 at 2.34. Still great rates. I mean, you go back to the day before my cruise, and there it was. I mean, rates were higher than that. So these are good rates still. Is it time to try to lock those in before interest rates start going up into the mid threes? And experts say it might go to 4%. I doubt that. They're always wrong, by the way. I'm not always right either. But is it the right time? So we're getting a lot of questions about that as we see home prices hitting another new peak. Equities are building all over the United States. There's trillions and trillions of dollars in gains in equity. The median home sales price hit at $359,750. That's 14% year over year, and just shy of the all-time high by like $200. And that was set in July, and it's up 29% from the same period in 2 years ago. Asking prices of newly listed homes are up 12% from the same time a year ago. Pending home sales were up 4% year over year. New listings of homes for sale were down 8%. New listings, fewer inventory means fewer listings. The share of homes that went under contract that had accepted offer within the first 2 weeks, that was 42%. That's above the 36% rate of a year earlier. Everything's still moving the way that it was earlier the year. How much effect do you think? We just talked about how interest rates have been pretty great for the last couple of years. What's it going to do when interest rates go up? Do you think they're going to have that much impact, Gordon?
Yeah, I don't think interest rates are going to have much of an impact on the market whatsoever. I mean, it's going to kind of slow it down slightly, but I think the market is going to continue to rise. When I look back at history to say, why do we study history? Because it repeats itself. The pandemic that we're going through right now the other one was 100 years ago, which is 1918. So I kind of see this right now in 2021, the next couple of years, to be the roaring 20s, like it was back in 1921. And of course, we know what happened after that in the latter part of the year, decade, I should say. But if you look at the economy, you look at where we are, you look at unemployment, you look at job opportunities, you look at inflation, you look at their companies out there dying for people to work and just can't get enough. It's the stores that are closing early because they just don't have the personnel. People don't want to work. So those are all positive signs of a good economy, regardless of where rates are. And I think rates going up.
Look what happened in 2000, coming out of .com crash. We had somewhat of a recession, and then we had very low interest rates, down near zero, the Fed's fund rate, and that crept up to 2006 and 2007. And we saw home prices rise. So are we going to see that kind of mentality where people are like, okay, we're making more money. We're getting paid more. Interest rates are reasonable. But remember, rates were in the sixes. When they dropped to 5, everyone was like, ooh. In the 4s, ooh. Now it's in the 3s. And,
right, so it can't drop anymore. So I always say you have to raise rates in order to drop rates. So I think it's a balancing act. The Fed's chair has. That's what the job of government is, to make sure and look at the economic indicators, where we're going, how can they best structure and control the environment so it's a lasting effect on the economy. It's no knee-jerk reaction. It's not partisan. It's not Republican, Democrat. It's just what's best for America, what's good for the country. I think we can get more of that involved the Fed chair and long-term projections, I think we'll be okay.
I still think inventory is going to play the biggest part in where home prices go and how they're affected by higher interest rates. And again, when we mean higher interest rates, we're going to see it tick up. Yes, it's not an if, it's a when, and we just don't know how much. We will see inventory, I think, trump that for the most part. There's plenty of buyers out there. A lot of millennials. We just talked about how millennials are now the largest, representing the largest percentage, 67% of first-time home buyers. They're now saying, we want to buy, we want to buy, we want to buy. I think it's good. And those are buyers. They've now accumulated money and better jobs, and they're able to move where they want, period. And we're going to see enough buyers to take up that slack of higher home prices and higher interest rates. I think it's going to slow down, like you said, but I think 2022 is not going to be any much different than 2021, especially as we've really become more comfortable with COVID, and the procedures and technology is caught up with buying and selling real estate, but buying practically anything. We've gotten a boost in technology throughout COVID. I continue seeing that as a major player, inventory that is in.
Yeah, technology has been key. I think more so for success rather than failure. I think technology is something that we all can bank on. I think actually COVID, it made us a lot more technology savvy than we were before. So all we can do is work through it, make the best of it, and welcome in 2022.
Well, you have a couple more weeks. Get your emails in to ask questions about 2021. Otherwise, it's 2022. You can always shoot us an email, Tony or Gordon at BayAreaLoanSource.com. That's Tony or Gordon at BayAreaLoanSource.com. And we can even get your questions on the air if you want. We'll see you next week. Thanks for joining us. I'm Tony Mendez. That's Gordon Hines. It's the Real Estate Report on AM 1220 KDOW. We'll see you next week.